Hello, Peter Greenlaw here. I'm the founder of the New Health Conversation movement, which I think we sorely need. It's a registered trademark for the with the U.S. Patent Office. Today, I get to interview one of probably my best friend in the world. I've known him for 20 years, and I would say in the very beginning, 20 years ago, probably one of the most skeptical people that I've ever met. So we've been on this journey together, and I think what's so ironic about the story today is, and he'll tell you when I introduce him in just a moment, that he did the protocol for a number of years, and then he got talked into some new program that he'll explain about counting your macros, and then he went vegan, and that's the rest of the story. So I want to welcome Bob Sievewright, one of my dear friends. Bob, welcome to the New Health Conversation, and I'm really anxious for you to share your journey and your story with our audience. So welcome.
Hey, Peter, thank you so much. Are you able to pull up my picture?
I will in just 1 second here.
Okay.
Hold on.
So for the audience, I met Peter in 2003. It took me about 6 months to say yes to his protocol.
Before we show him your picture, I just want you to tell him the story, because I think it's going to be much more dramatic when we show him the picture after, when you explain what you weighed when you started, what you did,
certainly. So I joke and say that I was a stressed out stockbroker. The reality is my doctor literally said, you got to get control of your health, your heart attack risk. And a mutual friend introduced me to Peter because, like me, he also had he was heart attack risk. So I listened to his program. I was beyond skeptical. It took you about 6 months to say yes. The benefit then, Peter introduced me to doctors who spoke to my internist, my doctor, and they agreed. Why don't you give this a shot? Let's see what happens. After 30 days, I lost a little over 20 pounds. My numbers went from bad to good, and simply put, my doctor stated, this is working for you. You either stay on this program or you're going to go on medication. You get to choose. I recommend you stay on this protocol. So I had to humbly, Peter, I had to call you up. I told you I'd never do shakes for the rest of my life. I had to call you up after like 35 days and say, Peter, how do I get more of these shakes? My doctor wants me to stay on this protocol. So the good news is my health's been phenomenal. And fast forward to 2019, 15 years later, I'm bouncing around that area of 207, 215, after a vacation, get on the protocol, drop back down to 207 or so. But my goal was, I thought, I want to really get ripped. I want to get a six-pack abs. And I reached out to a friend of mine who was doing a macro program that got ripped. And I thought, let me do this program. And that's where I went astray. I followed the program. I did pictures weekly, front, back, side. He basically changed my macros weekly. And 6-month phase, I'm building up. And then he was going to literally cut me to 0 carbs, and I was going to get cut. The old-fashioned bodybuilder program. So the picture that you'll share here shortly.
Now I'm going to bring it up. Hold on just 1 second. So the picture on the left is actually after you were on the macro program for a while. And on that left-hand picture, how much did you weigh in that picture on the left?
I was right around, that was 2 months after I went no carb, and I still was 232. I had lost 3 pounds in 2 months of basically backing off my carbs.
But Bob, honestly, that's a typical diet. They're losing about 1 pound a week. That's the whole point of this, right?
Well, the scary part is he said, I'm going to cut you to 0 carbs after, carb loading and doing all the crazy stuff, following the macros. He thought I would lose a lot of weight, get back to about 207 and be cut. And unfortunately, what happened, now that I went to my doctor and got my blood tests, I was in I had full-blown metabolic syndrome. And that's where that's my blood tests here.
Well, let me clarify that to the audience. When we're talking about metabolic syndrome, CDC has defined it. If you have 3 of these 5 factors, you're considered metabolic unhealthy. Overweight, which Bob was, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, high cholesterol, high triglycerides. Bob, you certainly met the criteria for almost everything on that list, did you not?
Well, the only thing I didn't have was high blood pressure.
Right. But you had everything
I was fine with that, but everything else had gone bonkers.
We'll come back to this picture in just a moment. So go ahead, keep going.
So yeah, everything had gone bonkers. I was terrified at the blood results. I called you, of course, being my best friend. Hey, buddy, this doesn't look good, but I need help. let's, and as we talked, we said, let's contact Dr. Marco Ruggiero, your colleague, the one who taught us about incubating the shakes. And we sent my blood panel information to Dr. Ruggiero, and Marco came back and said, immediately, you need to go straight vegan. So I went cold turkey vegan and literally did that for 7 weeks. I dropped weight from 232 down to about, maybe 210, 212 area. But I lost a lot of muscle mass. I didn't look healthy. And, the good news is that my blood panel started to improve. But I had incredible pain in joint pain, so much so that my wife said, that's it. I think I started vegan in middle June, first week of August. She's like saying, that's it. I'm making you a chicken breast, because I couldn't sleep at night. I had such bad joint pain.
Well, let me interrupt for a moment, Bob. So again, I want the audience to understand here. We're simply we're making you aware of what happened to him. It's one thing to see his before and after. It's another thing to really hear the story behind it. And that's the whole purpose I'm doing in these interviews, because at the New Health Conversation, we just want to bring people the real truth, what actually happened. Here's a real person who went through all these stages. But the problem is, and you proved it, although you lost weight, even on the vegan diet, it was the wrong kind of weight. The reason you were having muscle aches and all that, you were losing lean muscle mass. And although your blood panels improved some, it was pales in comparison when you did the R2 on the elimination program, which you started right after, when your wife Allison said, here, I'm giving you some protein, start eating some chicken or whatever. So give us that timeline of what happened.
It was about a 2-month time frame. I started doing a lot of research and study on carnivore diets. And through our conversations, what ended up happening is several of us went on a carnivore diet and then combined it with our protocol,
yep,
with the nutritional fasting days, along with the incubated shakes. The results from the combination of the elimination diet, which was using grass-fed beef, combined with our protocol, that's our new protocol. It was just literally mind-boggling, the results that everybody received. Because for most people, if you're not aware, Peter, maybe you could explain this, but a carnivore diet is an anti-inflammatory diet.
Correct. Absolutely.
And you're getting rid of a lot of the potential foods that we might be eating that can cause inflammation.
Well, Bob, many people that have followed me know that they call me the researcher of the researchers. I don't mess around. So in these 2 of 3 human trial peer-reviewed studies, I'm holding one on the left in the nutrition, this one in the obesity journal, just to be accurate, in the study, in just 30 days, inflammation came down by 24%, blood sugar came down 6%, insulin 4%, cholesterol 15%, LDL cholesterol 13%, but triglycerides came down 24%. You're going to update us on those numbers in just a moment. So the idea is the anti-inflammatory part is proven in the human trial peer-reviewed studies that were based on this R2M protocol. That's what's so amazing. And nobody else, as you know, Bob, no nutrition, no supplement, no diet company have human trial peer-reviewed studies. I saw they're working on a new drug today. And of course, they tested the drug in mice trials. Mice trials are not human beings. And it'll probably be 7 or 8 years before it comes out. You're a human trial. You're your own human trial. That's what makes this so different and so unique. And I know that people even watching this are skeptical. Well, but wait till you tell them the rest of the story, what happened in the 7 weeks. And I'll show them the before, your after picture in just a moment so they can get a feeling. So in that 7 weeks, how much did you lose? And then what happened to your blood work?
So from the worst, I was 232 after trying to lose weight. 235 was the worst. 232 in that picture, that was basically 2 months of almost no carb. Went to vegan. I don't have that middle picture. That's probably about 212-ish, 250, in that area, 210. But I just lost my muscle mass. I didn't look healthy. Did the vegan diet, had major joint pain, went back on chicken breast, immediately felt better. And about 2 months after that, after doing the research, I went on the carnivore diet. So this is my final picture. But the carnivore diet, that was 2 months of using your program and doing the carnivore diet. I had gone from about 215 to 185.
So that's you at 185 on the right.
And I haven't weighed. That's also, I had gone from my worst, if you take a tape measure around my middle, I was about 42 inches.
Right. And where are you in that
picture on the right, if you go around my belly button, I'm right at 34 inches, but I went to a 32-inch waist. So I haven't been in a 32-inch pant, and I have not been this cut since I was 19, 20 years old when I was playing sports.
Well,
And
let's go to the science again to support what's going on. In the
science, my A1C, which had gone in the worst part, which had leapfrog, had gone as high as 6. So my blood work on my A1C is at 5.2. My triglycerides at my worst, which were 244, are not 99.
Wow.
And when I went to the carnivore diet, my HDL went from 45 to 95. It literally went up, more than doubled. It went up 50 points, which I'm told that's cardio protective. HDL, I guess, is the good cholesterol.
Right.
And but the most important part was I slept better. I had more energy. I got my mojo back in terms of I literally not losing my keys. I was sharper.
Right.
And I was more productive. But at this new protocol, the elimination reset shred of yours, has totally transformed my life. And the good news is that now we're 2023. I've been doing this for 2.5 years. And that's the part of the topic. And that is, even when you find something that works, it's human nature. Looking at myself, I went off the reservation to try something else to think that it would work better. And obviously had a hard lesson to learn. But the beautiful part about this is I went back, and with the most recent research that you've done, we combined a few aspects. And now at 61, I'm in the best shape of my life physically, since you got to go back to I was 19, 20 for the same numbers. As well as statistically from a body fat percentage.
Well, again, let's go to the science, okay? So again, the human trial, peer-reviewed studies, what did they find? And you proved it because you were about 7 weeks. So this was 8 weeks. People, their visceral fat, that's that fat around your middle that surrounds all the organs, was reduced by 33%. Well, that's what happened. What happened to you was what they saw in the human trial peer-reviewed studies. So we're not making up anything. What's so cool about this is, look, I've been doing this 20 years. As you know, Bob, I've written 4 best-selling books. I did 20 shows on PBS. I've lectured all over the world. We didn't know that these things were occurring because they were never even tested before. We didn't know the number. I mean, triglycerides went down 24% in 30 days. You proved it. But you got to understand the difference now is when you've got a human trial peer-reviewed study, there's nothing higher in the universe than that. And your results mirror. So again, I'm coming back to the fact, it's one thing to see a before and after picture, but to hear the story behind it, that's all the difference in the world. So in closing,
I think I proved the point that you can go from metabolically inflexible, which is metabolic syndrome,
right,
to going back to metabolically flexible, where my body can burn fat or sugar, and my numbers along with it came down significantly.
So in closing, let me ask you a question. Number one, for any of the skeptics out there, or people that are thinking this isn't real, here would be the question. Are you ever stopping this again? Or are you going to listen to me from now on?
No, from now on, I'm sticking to what works. That's part of the journey. You got to find out what works for you. And we talk about building awareness. And this was a huge aha moment for me.
All right. Well, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, Bob. I know it's going to be an inspiration to many, because you're 61 years old. I mean, you look like you're about 45.
62.
You know? And your chest and your stomach and all that. I got to bring your picture up one more time, just so, I mean, I would just want everybody to look at that picture and understand that, look, that's a 62-year-old guy. I mean, on the left, you look 62. On the right, you sure as heck don't look like you're 62 years old. And do you agree that so many people have given up? They're accepting a less than lifestyle. And look, you were doing everything right. You did macros. You went on a vegan diet. You tried everything. But it was the R2M elimination that changed your life. And I think in some senses, one of the things that's always bothered me when people would come to me and say, do I have to do this for the rest of my life? And it's like, oh my, Bob, you want to go back to the picture on the left? How about never again, right?
No, that's I've given away all my clothes. That was like a 38-inch waist, and I think I've given all those pant sizes away. So no.
Good. Well, Bob, thank you very much for sharing that with us today. And I really believe this is going to be an inspiration to lots of people. So have a great day.
Awesome, Peter. Thank you so much.